said that the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. And I'm just going to add a tad bit. The future belongs to those who go for it. And that's why I'm so excited about this conference today, despite much of the things that have happened in our environments that tries to suppress, our enthusiasm to actually even want to do more. I'm excited because we're coming to the table to discuss our future. And I hope on that note that you've brought your pens, your notepads, because you're going to get inspired. You're not going to get expired, you're going to get inspired. I am excited. You're going to get inspired today, and you're going to write some of these insights down. However, we've also found that a lot of people, majority of people sometimes attend some of these conferences and pull down the nuggets, actionable insights that they're supposed to go take actions with. And at the end of the day, it ends up in the notepad. I'm confident that the crop of people who are attending this conference today are people who go out and action some of the insights that we'll be getting from here today, such that in the next couple of months and years to come, we will see changes in our environment, wherever sector that you operate in. If it's technology, if it's public relations, if it's advertising, if it's agriculture, that you actually take careful steps to innovate around what you see or the data that you gather from most of the conferences you've attended and this particular conference. On that note, I want to thank you once again for coming in here. Little did we know that our world will come to be this way, in such a way that would depend so much on Zoom as much as we are right now. I remember when Uber and the likes of Airbnb, as well as Facebook, Instagram, when they first started, we actually didn't even know as much. We didn't know how much we would need to interact or use those products. And that's what we are calling all African innovators to at these very discussions. Can we begin to put the human at the center of all our decisions, of all our innovation? Imagine what it will be like when we can predict what people will need in the next 1 year or 2 years. It means that we will be able to shape the future. Indeed, technology shapes the future. But what does PR do in that instance? PR also helps to shape perceptions. And that's why you see the marriage of both today. The future that technology enthusiasts will be creating, which will impact on all the other sectors. Public relations and communications professionals will also help shape perceptions that will then bridge the gap between the future that we dream and then the acceptance or adoption of some of the innovations that we are going to be seeing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited. I hope that you're excited because today I'm sure that we're going to learn a lot around the topic, the theme, embracing technology transformation in Africa. On that note, I am going to introduce our first keynote speaker. We're going to have two keynote addresses today. The first is from the public relations sector, and then the other one is from the technology sector. I'm just going to give a bit of a background into our PR keynote speaker. When we first reached out to him to take the keynote address for this session, he didn't even hesitate at all. He jumped on it and said, I'm in. He responded. And then we started interacting with him and his teammates and all of that. Even up until early in the week, I still engaged with them. Sadly, he took ill, and he was still looking at the possibility of actually being here live since it is virtual. However, his condition would not permit it today. But you know what he did? He still sent us a recording despite his condition. So what we are going to do today is I will introduce him and then we will play this recording, which is just slightly above 5 minutes. Our keynote speaker, our first keynote speaker is someone I respect and many others in the communication sector respect a lot. He's a highly sought after speaker. He's someone you can call a pioneer in the public relations sector. He started his company in 1992. That's about 30 years. So this is someone who has experienced both technology and communication changes or transformation, as you will call it, over the last 3 decades. He is the Group Managing Director, CMC Connect Perception Managers. And he is presently, interestingly as well, the President, African Public Relations Association, APRA. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome our reputable keynote speaker for today, Mr. Yomi Badejo Okunsoya, YBO.
Good afternoon, distinguished participants. My name is Yomi Badejo Okunsoya, and you're welcome to the Phyllion Tech Conference 2020. First of all, I'd like to apologize for my inability to be with you in person. This is due to circumstances far beyond my control. Nevertheless, I'm most privileged to have been asked to deliver the keynote address, and it's a great pleasure to be with you today. This is an all-important conference, and as we all know, the theme of this conference is embracing technology transformation in Africa. What's next? There was once a time Africa was called the Dark Continent. We were far removed from the modern world, a remote and underdeveloped section of the terra firma. Unfortunately, the media, especially the global media, have made this worse with the usual images and visual of Africa depicting strife, war, hunger, farming, or anything that is not nice. Today, the story is changing. Africa will live in the information age where technology runs the world. As we all know, this same world has become a global village, and distance is nothing. The barriers of space and time have been conquered by transportation or communication software. We can have this very meeting in Russia and have the option of flying, therefore a physical one, or using one of the many teleconferencing software to have virtual meetings. Technology is therefore much more than a phenomenon we use. We actually live technology. Technology simply in this age is life. Whether it's the phones that we use, the cars we drive, the internet or the social media, the way we transact, technology is all around us, and it has become integrated and interwoven. Even this conference is as a result of technological transformation. As Africans, therefore, we can no longer be isolated from it. Admittedly, we may have come to the party late. However, the growth of tech technologies, tech companies in Africa, especially Nigeria, has proven this wrong and is telling us about the many changes that are occurring. Africa is now in its own right championing technology transformation. In the very words of Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the United Nations, at one of the editions of the US Africa Leaders Summit, he said, Africa's resilience and creativity are enormous. Our dynamic entrepreneurs are using technology to transform people's lives. End of quote. In the IT space, tech companies like Andela and CC Hub have modeled this. While the former began its business by training software developers, CC Hub created a workstation for tech startups, which birthed some innovative startups that have gone to make significant socio-economic impacts. The concept of technology transformation is simple. Simply the integration of technology in all areas of business and enhancing traditional methods to meet with current digital realities and market expectations. Technological transformation does not exist in a vacuum. It spills over to commercial and economic development. Take your mind back to the introduction of mobile phones in Nigeria in the year 2001 and the development that has taken place as a result. As of 2019, the telecommunications subsector has contributed 10.11% of our total GDP. Another industry worthy of note is the e-commerce one. It was recently valued at $1.3 billion, with an estimated spending of $12 billion coming from a pool of 87 million mobile phone users. E-commerce is a fairly recent phenomenon in Africa, which is a result of deciding we digitalize trade. There's also fintech, e-learning, and digital communications, which have revolutionized the game of traditional banking, education, and indeed communication in Africa. The entertainment industry is not left out. Using robotics and artificial intelligence through drone technology, Nollywood has been able to leverage on digital transformation. The resultant revenue is approximately $500 million to $1 billion year on year, with direct employment in excess of 300,000 people. Social revenue is access to Hollywood, showcasing African talent to the world. Now, embracing technological transformation in our business goes beyond just creating social media campaigns or keeping our software updated. It is far more than that. It is following tech trends or embedding digital solutions into our business affairs. It is about perceiving what the future holds and being positioned digitally to be at the forefront of innovation. Our problem in Africa is not lack of talent. We may have challenges with resources, but the most significant is timing. We need to play catch up in this very vital area. The current pandemic that we're witnessing is pushing the continent to develop solutions leveraging technology. Traditionally, this meeting would have been convened in a physical location with all of us in one building, but the present reality of COVID-19 has compelled us to congregate virtually. The same thing with our workplaces. The new normal compels us to adapt away from the way you used to do things and embrace technology transformation. It is essential so that our businesses can remain relevant and even competitive. To do otherwise is to risk being left behind. So the question, what next? How can we in Africa leverage on the new technological wave? Building an enabling environment for the tech ecosystem to thrive is important in accelerating the transformation we so vitally seek. To create an enabling environment, all stakeholders must be actively engaged. Finally, let me speak to us as public relations professionals. As PR professionals, we must continuously and consistently communicate Africa's position in embracing technology transformation. The African Public Relations Association, the umbrella body for the practice of public relations on the continent, of which I'm privileged to preside, is championing this narrative under the banner of One Africa, even speaking technologically wise. We must spread our agenda across the continent through partnerships, impactful campaigns, events, and conferences, just like the one that we are at the moment. Let me use this opportunity to thank Temi Ibekwe and her team for putting up a very timely conference such as this. I recognize the very eminent speakers that you have lined up. I congratulate you. I wish you all the best. I hope that we will be seeing very, very many more of conferences like this. I'd like to encourage many of our contemporaries across the continent to borrow a leaf from Temi and her team and put up more and more of conferences so that we can put our stake in the ground as Africans who are ready for the technology transformation. As we say, let me end, as we say in APRA, One Africa. I thank you for your time and wish us all a very successful conference. God bless.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Yomi Badijo Okusoya, for that speech. One Africa. For most of us who want to learn more about him or read about his profile, please, I hope you've downloaded the app. We have a mobile and web app. You can read about our speakers there, because what you're going to hear from here is an abridged version of their profile. So without taking any further time, I would like to introduce our second keynote speaker, who is here with us live. Our second keynote speaker is someone whom, from my interaction with him, is very passionate about youth development and the economy of Nigeria. He's been doing business in Nigeria for the last 12 years in the IT sector as well as international business. He is Mr. Adrian Hinckley. He's the managing director of Hinckley Group, Nigeria's first government-approved e-waste recycling operation supporting enterprise. And his firm is a key support partner for Hewlett Packard in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome our second keynote speaker from the tech sector, Mr. Adrian Hinckley.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. I hope I can live up to the bill. So I'm really honored to be here today and honored to be delivering a keynote speech amongst my peers. And I can see some familiar faces here. So I'm truly humbled and honored to be given this opportunity today. So thank you. So I am going to share a few slides. Hopefully I can get my screen to do that. And let me know if you can see it.
Yes.
Okay. So today, as we all know, is embracing technology transformation in Africa. What's next? So you're probably asking, why is a guy from the UK going to be discussing this topic? What do I know about Africa and technology? So let me start with a little bit about me. I've been in Nigeria for 11 years now, and I'm running Hinckley Group. Hinckley Group has been in Nigeria since 1998, so it's been around a long time. It has a lot of pedigree. We've done an awful lot of work with HP. We operate the authorized HP service centers, so really truly honored to see some of the HP guys on here as well. I know that we have the MD joining on the panel later on, Ife Afe. And Hinckley also, apart from being heavily involved in the HP setup in Nigeria, also established Nigeria's first ever electronic waste government approved facility. So if you ever ask what happens to all my old phones and electronics, well, they should be, they're not always, sadly, but they should be getting recycled responsibly to protect the environment, which is a project which I've been passionate about for many years now and worked hard to deliver. So I won't spend too much time talking about Hinckley, but obviously I'll touch on it, otherwise I wouldn't be doing the company justice. But we, apart from HP, we work with various other OEMs, including non-IT related organizations, such as Hyatt Thermocool, for example, where we do provide recycling services. But we have offices in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and 2 offices in Lagos. So we are spread nationwide. Right, so let's get into the topic. So quickly addressing the elephant in the room, because we're talking about what next. And I think we do, obviously, let's get over and done with it. Let's talk about COVID quickly and move on and get away from it as quickly as possible. Obviously, it's going to have an impact this year. Early indications, although I think these numbers have deteriorated further, but early indications did indicate that a growth would be down by 8%. Just in Nigeria alone, not looking at the whole Africa region. And obviously unemployment on the rise, exchange rates suffering. So that's Nigeria, but I think we can anticipate similar picture across the continent. So when we look about what next, well, this is obviously one of the challenges we all now have to accept and address. But the good news, and the good news for everybody on this call, and being in a technology conference, is that one of the sectors that we anticipate to be positively impacted with growth of 5.3% is the ICT sector in Africa. And this is encouraging. So why is that? Well, that's probably something that we're going to go into now and talk about a lot more today. But you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand that the healthcare sector, ICT sectors will definitely be amongst some of the sectors that will grow, particularly as the need for communication and remote communication grows. As we are all here sat today on computers and doing telecommunications to talk and see each other, as we sadly can't be together physically. Now, moving on to some of the sectors that I really want to focus on today, and really these are the sectors that I think not just Africa, but us as humans and society are most concerned about, and that's our healthcare, our education, where our food comes from, agriculture, our environment in terms of the climate change environment, security, and our finance. So I think these are all our, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think these cover them pretty well. So let's start with healthcare. How does technology in Africa impacted healthcare? And I've just taken 3 examples, and I've taken 3 examples for each of the sectors that I want to discuss. Looking at healthcare, so what has been done so far? What impact has technology had on the healthcare sector? And we can look at these 3 projects, highly innovative, some established by entrepreneurs in Africa, some outside, but all deployed in the African environment. So Zipline is one such company. They use drone technology to deliver blood supplies to remote rural locations. This is fantastic. Also, as we know, a lot of hospitals, particularly in rural locations, may not have the blood supplies needed for blood transfusions and for patients in critical condition. So this is really life-saving technology. We have Peak, another fantastic organization set up in Kenya, but expanding across Africa. Peak is an organization that uses various technology, but some of it mobile applications to provide eye care, early detection of diseases like glaucoma. So they really are preventing blindness through very simple technology, but that can be deployed anywhere, and that's the beauty of it. Particularly in these rural locations where it's really hard for individuals to access healthcare systems. And obviously this is very cheap too, which is another massive plus. And then it wouldn't be fair not to mention HP today, as there's a number of HP speakers on the call today, so it's a good idea to discuss HP and what they're doing with a company called CrossFit. HP and CrossFit are partnered in the production of 3D printed aesthetics for amputees, prosthetics for amputees. This is, again, fantastic technology whereby you can reach a very large audience in a fairly cheap way. It's a lot cheaper to do 3D print a prosthetic leg than it would be to probably have one made in a specialized facility or lab. And again, these can be printed anywhere. They could be, you could be in a remote location in Kenya, Nigeria, wherever, and provide this fantastic, life-changing facility for Africans. So this is another great way technology is impacting already in Africa. Now looking at education, three examples. There are many. Don't get me wrong. There are many, and there's many in the healthcare sector as well as the education. I know there's an organization in Nigeria using app technology delivering blood to hospitals on demand. There's many of these solutions, which is fantastic. Looking at these 3 in the education, we have Tutoria, which is a Nigerian organization providing remote learning for children, but also adults as well, so particularly at this time when we're all stuck at home, many of us, we can access these education facilities where our children aren't in school and we're worried about how this is impacting their education. So Tutoria really allows parents to go online and quickly find tutors in their local area and provide that vital education service for their children. B. Blocky, this is another fantastic African. I think these guys are from Ethiopia, I believe. Yes, Ethiopia. They have developed a fun way of teaching children how to code. So I'm sure there's many of us on this call today that are passionate about that particular subject. So this is a great way to get kids involved in that. Brick Education is again set up in Kenya currently, although looking to expand across Africa. And this is looking at the hardware. As we know, often one of the biggest problems is putting the technology in the hands of the children, schools not being able to fund or afford the technology that they need. I remember seeing on CNN a few years ago a teacher using a blackboard and drawing a Microsoft Windows desktop on the blackboard just to show the children what Windows looked like, without any technology in the classroom. So it's really important that we get the tech into the hands of the children so that they can access these wonderful applications like Blocky, which are available, or Tutoria. So this is an affordable technology for children in the African setting. Now looking at agriculture, a growth sector, as you saw from one of my previous slides, even post-COVID, this is still going to be one of the growth sectors. Huge investment, as I'm aware of, in many countries, particularly Nigeria in the north. A lot of investment, bans of imports of food, staple food products such as rice into Nigeria currently. So great opportunity there, but the farmers face various challenges. Obviously, funding being one of them, which is Farm Crowdy has been hugely successful in Nigeria at raising funding through people easily and simply through their mobile phone able to invest in crops, and that funding then is used and allocated to these farms across the country to increase productivity. Other apps and other challenges that farmers face in Africa are things such as disease of their crops, and knowing how, basic information and education on how to manage livestock, for example. So there's two apps here, iCow and Nuru from Plant Village, both very useful apps and provide fantastic information to farmers so they can maximize their productivity and obviously get a better return on their investment. Looking at the environment, a subject that I'm very passionate about. Lumos, Hinkley is actually partnered with Lumos. We recycle all their solar batteries, so we're very familiar with them. They've, I think many of us are in Nigeria and other countries. I know they're Pan-African. They provide a kind of pay-as-you-go solar solution, where you can top up, just like you were topping up your mobile phone, you can top up your solar so that you can watch TV or charge a laptop or charge your phone or run a fan. So there's a nice picture of a child here doing homework in the house. Electricity is still a major challenge in Africa. So this is really life-changing for many people, affordable off-grid power solution. Chowbri, another Nigerian organization. Sorry if I'm a bit biased. I've been to various African countries, but 11 years in Nigeria, so I would say that that's my specialist area. Chowbri reduced food waste. So when supermarkets are about to throw away expired food, there's this app that's been developed where people can come and become made aware that this food is going to be thrown away and it can be collected. So that reduces food waste. And then another really clever app, and not just app, but it's actually an entire solution for reducing water wastage. And these guys are set up in Kenya, where one of the biggest problems that they have, and not just in Kenya, but is the infrastructure that distributes the water to people's houses. And more often than not, there's a lot of leakage of that water, and you'll be paying monthly your bill for water and still running out of mains water. So this is a nice solution that they've integrated it with the water suppliers, and you pay for what you consume. So you pay for every drop. If you don't use it, you don't pay for it. So it's a nice way, again, of technology interrupting challenges in Africa. Moving on to finance, and obviously this is one of the most important ones for most of us here, is our money. And again, we've seen huge growth in this area in Africa, phenomenal. We've got M-Pesa, again, Pan-African organization, using mobile money to make payments. The impact of this is really phenomenal, and it's far-reaching. Being in the electronic waste sector, I know how important it is to support the informal collectors. And when you want to make payment, these mobile technologies are a fantastic way to make instant payments to people, particularly in the informal setting, so that they can get paid. And it's transparent. And it's something you can keep a record of for auditing. Really phenomenal. InterSwitch, many of us know InterSwitch, obviously very successful, one of Africa's first unicorns, and play a major role in all our payments of bills today. Paga is another one, similar in nature, relatively, I can't say new anymore, but one of the newer organizations which is simplifying payment systems in Africa. Then lastly, going on to security, when I talk about security, I don't just mean our physical, personal security. I also mean things like our financial security, and I've given some examples of also voting security as well, which is obviously something very important to us in Africa. So Irembo is a app set up in Rwanda it's in a government application. This payments for national ID cards or driving licenses, which we know are all very complex or become complex for no reason other than somebody wants to take a bribe or something along the line to try and speed up the process of you getting your documents. So this app adds transparency, tells you how long the processing time is, how much you exactly will pay for whatever document it is that you require. VIP is actually not an app, but it was a movement, if you like, in South Africa during the 2014 election. And VIP is basically voting is power, is what it stands for. And what it was an online social media movement that encouraged people to speak out about any irregularities they noticed at polling stations in South Africa during the voting, then in the presidential elections. So it was just a way, a kind of check and balance on what's going on. So if anybody saw anything, they were encouraged to upload it onto the Facebook page and share it. So it's almost kind of a form of accountability by the public. And Univote is a very small little project in Jos in Nigeria, but this really is interesting because it's using blockchain technology for voting. And this is just for their university voting, but the blockchain really holds a lot of potential for Africa in terms of presidential elections, and could be a great way forward. So what next? What's the big question? I think right now what we see and the trends that I've seen, and as a company, we're changing our strategy a little bit at the moment, because what we see and what COVID has done has accelerated our demand for remote services. And that's really where we're heading. If you look at companies like Jumia, also another unicorn, not necessarily, I would say, an African company, but they provide services in Africa, direct, like Amazon, directly delivering products to our door. And when we're all in lockdown, stuck in our houses, services like food delivery, medical deliveries are absolutely critical. And potentially, and what people are saying is that moving forward in the future, the new normal may be where we do work from home more, where we don't go to offices and we work more remotely. And that will create this huge demand for remote services. So things like video conferencing services like Zoom have become phenomenally popular during this COVID period. So certainly for me, and certainly what I see in the future is these remote services, and that has been a massive growth area. But looking at Africa particularly, it's a very exciting opportunity on the continent. We've already seen Mark Zuckerberg come to Nigeria and provide investment into some of the startups in the Yaba environment. So that would indicate to you that if somebody as clever as Mark Zuckerberg's investing in Africa and in technology, that it really, he's seen something that I think we all on this call already know and already knew, but now we need to figure out how we can work together to realize that potential, that massive potential in Africa. And I would say probably one of the topics for discussion today, and something that's really exciting in this event, will be funding, because that's really the major bottleneck in Africa for most of these tech projects is funding. So if we can find ways to overcome that challenge, then I think we're in a good position. So thank you very much for your time and have a great event.